Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kelly. I'd like to thank you for all the support you give us on our last videos there. So as usual, like, comment, and subscribe. I work away from home a lot. That's why I'm not putting up videos too often, because I'm too busy. But I work 2 to 3, 4 weeks at a time. I know come home, so I'll make as many videos as I can when I come home, but that's why there's long periods in between. So you'll just have to bear with me, and work is work. You got to do it. So funny thing about one of my last videos, though, the Chinese Communist government versus democracy, and then there was that England, the prime minister for 45 days and stuff like that there. So that kind of all works in to that last video. So if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. Okay, so today the topic is America's gonna save the world. Yeah, so America's the only way they feel safe is like they got 800, just about 800 army bases around the world, and in 85 countries. And it's not making America any safer, and it's just creating instability in the world. Big Brother's right there watching you. So, and America thinks it can write all the rules for America and the world. They're trying to run the world like the mafia, the Godfather. They just look like a bunch of schoolyard bullies, really. So anyway, let's get at it here. So America's saving the world. Well, Russia and Ukraine right now. It's quite a nasty situation. And this didn't start last year. This has been brewing for a long, long time in history. And when Gorbachev was still the ruler of the Soviet Union, NATO approached him and said, we will not encroach further to the east. And but then after the Soviet Union fell, the USA didn't figure they had to honor those agreements that were made by NATO. And so eventually they inducted 7 more countries into NATO, European countries that were just getting closer and closer to Russia, moving eastward like they said they weren't going to do. And Russia kept saying, stop it, don't do it, don't do it. But they just kept on getting closer and closer. And then in 2008, George Bush took it upon himself, speaking for NATO, and he invited Georgia and Ukraine into NATO. And Putin, he seen George Bush at a conference, a world conference, and he told Putin he's gone too far, or he told Bush that he's gone too far, and if he keeps on going, he's going to take Crimea back. So a few years later, in 2010, there was a pro-Russian president for Ukraine, and his name was Viktor Yanukovych. And he wanted to be neutral. He didn't want to be trapped between the USA and Russia. Well, that doesn't work for USA, because if you're not with America, you're against America. So in the late 2013, early 2014, the Russian or the Ukraine government got overthrown with the help of the USA, they say, and the new president for Ukraine was a pro-West, pro-NATO, let's go against Russia. They were back. USA had another ally again with Ukraine. So Putin did exactly what he said he was going to do. He took Crimea back, and that was part of his natural security that he figured it was a pretty crucial spot to maintain. And the USA just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and then after that he took Crimea, USA started moving in heavy NATO weaponry, which is why the Ukrainians are fighting so successfully today, is because they had all this support from USA, and they're still getting the USA has been providing funding and advising and providing intelligence to the Ukrainian military, and they're fighting USA's war for them. USA is not doing anything except providing the weaponry and helping them out in that way there. But it's the Ukrainians that are dying. It's the Ukrainians that their country's getting decimated by this war, and it's not going to end anytime soon unless somebody steps in. And this could have all been prevented before the end of 2021 if the U.S. and Russia just negotiated, and USA was going to say they're going to back off of Ukraine, but the White House, they figured at that 1,600-kilometer border, they want to be right at it's Ukrainians' right to join NATO, so they want to open up that 1,600-kilometer border along there, and that's why Russia freaked out. They don't want that, so they'd be boxing in, closing right in there. It'd almost be like if Mexico invited the Russian army to move in, and you're welcome to come into our country because they don't like the way the USA is treating them because of the way they treat their immigrants and everything like that there. Do you think the USA would open up their arms and say, oh, no problem, bring the Russian army right up against our border? Do you think that they would welcome them with open arms? Not a chance in hell. They would fight that tooth and nail, and it's something like what they did in 1962 when the Russians started moving missiles into Cuba. The USA put a stop to that right away. So they don't want anybody right up against their border. They don't want military bases right up against the Russian border. That's what this is all about. They want to close Russia in, and by trying to include this new leader into NATO, they just trapped him into a war. Is all they did, essentially. Ukrainian is fighting the U.S. war against Russia. Plain and simple. All their weaponry, everything is just all supplied by the U.S., but they can't help them with people, but they're supplying them with everything else. So, and it could end right away if the only thing that's going to bring this thing to an end is if USA and Russia negotiate and USA backs off. Other than that, there's not going to be anything left of Ukraine. I can't see it, so it's a pretty sad situation how the USA is saving Ukraine. That's what they're doing. They're saving Ukraine. Yeah, go USA. So, but anyway, let's talk about Taiwan and how USA is going to save Taiwan from China. Taiwan is part of China. China is a peaceful nation. They don't want war with anybody. They've never started wars. In the last recent history, they haven't started any wars. They haven't invaded any countries. They don't have military bases all over the world. They're just a peaceful nation trying to keep to themselves. But since 1954, The U.S. is trying to save Taiwan from China. It just doesn't make any sense. And China's never done anything against Taiwan. So, but it's just constantly, for the past 60 years, USA keeps putting their nose into their business trying to save them. And just recently Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan and the Chinese government said, no, please don't, stay away. But she didn't listen to nobody. She flew in the middle of the night. She went to their parliament buildings early the next day and gave a little speech and hopped on the plane, and away she went again. All she was there to do was to provoke China. And what did China do? They didn't really do anything. They're a peaceful nation. China's not going to attack Taiwan because Taiwan is Chinese people. Taiwan is China. So why the hell are they going to attack their own country? So simple as that, but the USA is not going to stop. China is getting to be a very economically powerhouse, and they're going to be the economic leader of the world here soon. And there's nothing, nobody can stop them. They got one of the world's biggest populations. It's bound to happen. And there's no way that the U.S. is going to let that happen peacefully. They're going to do everything in their power to prevent China from overtaking their #1 status in the world. But there's no way they can stop it, and it's just making them look terrible trying to do it. Like, I don't see how they can even get away with even trying something like that. So let's do a little history about how the USA is saving the world. How USA moved into Vietnam and they saved Vietnam. Well, that was a total failure. They lost 60,000 lives saving Vietnam, and in the end, nothing changed. And there's a lot of more examples. Afghanistan, they were there for years. And the day they left, everybody laid down their weapons and the Taliban took it back over. They never accomplished a thing there. Spent billions and billions of dollars accomplishing nothing. And then there's also Liberia, Syria, Iraq. There's more failed missions saving the world. They're going to save them, but no, they didn't accomplish nothing. And I was thinking, why do all these countries over there hate America so much? Well, America's sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. Now, in 9/11, isn't the U.S. kind of getting back what they're putting out? You're going to stick your nose in our business. Well, they're going to stick their nose in your business. It's sad to say, but what prompted all that is, well, the Americas are messing with them. Leave these other countries alone, and they're not going to hate you so bad. And what did you accomplish? Nothing. Most of it is nothing. Most of it's over oil and money. They're not accomplishing nothing, really. So America's saving the world. America can't even save itself from America. Just last week, Nancy Pelosi's, somebody came into Nancy Pelosi's house and yelling out, "Nancy, Nancy, Nancy." And she wasn't home. Her husband was. And when the police came in the door to put an end to it, they witnessed this attacker, and he bludgeoned Pelosi's husband in the head there, and he got a cracked skull out of the deal. Thankfully, he's all right. Yeah. It's crazy. America's just, and Biden, he's talking in his speech about that, and he goes, "There's just so much hatred and violence. It's all got to stop." Well, turn your attentions to your own country. Donald Trump, USA president, he lost the election, and he's he's rallying his people to go to the White House to protest, and then they call it an insurrection. Well, an insurrection is highly illegal to overthrow the government, and they're throwing people in jail left and right. And, Trump was the one calling for it. A U.S. president, he's calling for an insurrection, and well, USA is fighting USA, and the news that you hear. Like when I drove home the other day, the news is just awful. Like Philadelphia, in a 2-year period, they had 1,000 people murdered. And they're just announcing, like it's a sad statistic that they're announcing on the news. Can you imagine one city in America, 1,000 people dead in 2 years from murder? And that same report is like 6 people getting shot at a funeral. Thank goodness nobody died, but 6 people got shot and wounded. A road rage incident there. Somebody's driving his child to school, and he hears noises, and then he realizes somebody's shooting at him going down the road, and there's bullet holes in his car and the bullet holes in his child's seat. And, thankfully nobody got hurt, but just road rage, people driving down the road shooting everywhere. And, just the news is just steady, just shootings and mass shootings and school shootings and the drugs and the homelessness and the violence that takes, the riots, the racism is horrible. George Floyd, look at that and how the people reacted to that, which, how are you going to put a stop to this? It's just unbelievable. When I was young, I live up north of USA, and I really had no desire to go down to the USA. I never really. I've snuck into Vegas once, went down there for a little holiday, and nothing happened. Thankfully I wasn't in Vegas when that really big mass shooting happened there. But no, when we went there, we were safe, thankfully, and never seen anything, thankfully. But it's just the guns, the drugs, the racism, the violence is totally out of control there. And what's the USA government doing? Nothing. They're worried about what's happening over there. We better stick our nose in somebody else's business before they take care of their own business. So I'd like to quote a guy by the name of Professor Jeffrey Sachs. He's an American professor. He's been an economic advisor to many politicians in many different countries throughout his long career. And most of my information that I'm talking about comes from him. And he knows, he's been there for many, many years. And a quote from him talking about Americans. And this is it here. He said, "America is a semi-democratic, white-dominated, racist society that aims to preserve the privilege by the elite." Basically, the rich take care of the rich and the poor be damned. And the infrastructure of the states is just kind of crumbling around them. Nothing's really, why doesn't America take care of America? America's out saving the world. Who is going to save the world from the Americans? Hey, there's a question for you. I don't know. It's a pretty scary world we live in when we got the 4.2% of the population going around like they're the mob boss. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. So if you like this video, please like, comment. I'm looking for your comments. I I got some doozies there the last time there, so keep them up. And subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Please subscribe to our channel, and I'll try to make as many videos as I can in the time frame I have. So looking for your continuing support. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.